Honourable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in Thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic, thou members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the levers of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, that good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Our members, item 2, roll call.
Abaka Samuel Erickson, Abanga Abdullahi Jacob Idris, Abdul Latif Dan, Abdul Salam Adams, Ablakwa Samuel Okujeto, Abuaji George Kwame, Abuaji Kwejo Nyampong, Abudulai Bazirewa, Achampong Brian, Achampong Charles, Achampong Richard, Akwaku Sofa Karen Edem, Akwa Alexander Kwesi, Adam Hamza, Adam Mohammed Amin, Adams Kofi Idi, Adi Teddy Safori, Adoya Ofrempong, Ejay Kwesi Boateng, Adum Frederick Obeng, Adumako Mensa Lex, Adumako Mensa Collins, Adongo Isaac, Edu Johnson Kweku, Edu Chumiao Osei, Afenya Mark and Alexander Kwamena, Afol Eric, Efrifa Mensa Kwesi Owusu, Efriye Nana Yu, Efriye Kweku, Agalga James, Agbeve Charles, Agboja Kwame Govens, Ejepon Ken Ohene, Ejari Alexander, Ejekumi Manuel Kwejo, Ajimaimenu Kweku, Ajima Rollins Zaneto, Ejeni Boateng Kweku, Ahinkwa Kingsley Carlos, Ahinkwa Frederick Yao, Ahi Samson, Ahiafo Bernard, Eidu William Oreku, Akando Kwabnaminta, Akanvai Lydia Lamisi, Achiasa Molata, Alauzuga Albert Akuka, Al Hassan Abdallah Idi, Al Hassan Bashir A. Fuseini, Al Hassan Lydia Seyram, Al Hassan Saibu Suhini, Aliu Mahama Umar Farouk, Alowute Angelo Foriwa, Amankwa Nicholas, Amankwa Menu Kofi, Ameu John Peter, Amiao Tremi Kwesi, Amwa Oseibonsu, Amwa Stephen, Amwaku Andre Siama, Amwakwanta Kwesi, Ampim Thomas Nyako, Ampofu Chumesi Kwame, Amprechu Nsapon Kweku, Andre Emmanuel Ejay, Enim Ernest Yao, Enim Moses, Another Bre Frank, Entry Eugene Boache, Animedu Entry Apak Clement Abbas, Apia J. Patricia, Apia Kubi Andy Kwame, Ama Prince Hamidu, Marvin Sentopon, Asante Kwejo, Asante Boatin Kweku, Asensu Boachi Francis, Esiama Isaac Kwame, Esiama Kwabna Mankwa, Esiama Eje na Nama Dokua, Asafo Vincent Ekol, Ata Neil Samuel, Aveji James Kluje, Avoka Kletu Sapu, Ewa Ignatius Bafo, Awuni Theresa Ladi, Ayamba Ladi Ayi, Ayarga Mahama, Ayiku Benjamin Nate, Ayine Dominica Kritinga, Befi Michael Lottery, Baba Benson Tongo, Baligi Bright Bachi Yoville, Bandim Azuma Bednego, Bano Patrick, Batel Sheila, Bawa Edward, Bedra Emmanuel Kwesi, Bettino Joseph, Blankson Alex, Boachi Henry Yadom, Boachi Yadom Patrick, Boama Patrick Yao, Boatin Akwesi Dako, Boatin Amapoma, Boatin Joseph Apia, Bobie Evans Opoku, Boche Daniel, Brahima Muhammad Bawa, Boa Emmanuel Amakofi, Bukari Joseph Nipe, Chinya Amidu Isakaku, Chajia Samson Tongumbo, Chiwete Andrew Dari, Krensel Abeku, Kujo Comfort Doyo, Kujo Joseph, Kujo Robert Wisdom, Dafia Makor Roxen Nelson Eche Kwame, Dalu Thomas Ada, Dapila Kletu Seidu, Daku Daniel Ohene, Daku Mensa Kwabnotre, Dauda Collins, Dawuni Abukari, Derry Ambrose, Jonobua Alex Tete, Donko Elvis Morris, Donko Kwabena, Duka George Mreku, Eyanana, Fojo John in team, Forsen Castle Ato Ba, Frimpong Joseph, Gape Kwame Jujoli, George Samuel Nate, Gansa Alhassan Kobna, Gate Joe, Gidiso Wisdom, Gomadoyao, Gomashi Ablajifa, Jenfi Emmanuel Akwesi, Jan Alexander, Jan Mensan Richard, Hamon Kobnata Hill, Hansen Norte Yves, Haruna Seidu, Hayford Ophelia Mensam, Hotoji Alexander Roosevelt, Ibrahim Ahmed, Ibrahim Mutala Muhammad, Ibrahim Azurera Mohammed, Idrisu Habib, Idrisu Haruna, Isifu Seidu, Jabbar John Benham, Jaja Yusuf Isaka, Jalula Stephen Pambin, Joshua Godfrey Seidu, Jinapo John Abdullahi, Jinapo Samuel Abdullahi, Kinney Jeffrey, Kisi Dixon Adomako, Kunedu Akwesi, Kumsin Mavis Hawa, Kosa Martin Kwekwe J. Mensan, Podo Benjamin Komla, Kum Ebenezer Kojo, Kuma Joseph Kwame,
Present.
Kuyon Solomon, Kwachi Aka Peter Yao, Kwatin Kwekwajiman, Kofi Festus Sewa, Chei Mensa Bonsu Osei, Tremi Nelson, Labi Oscar Ufori, Lati Agnes Namomo, Liwal Oscar, Mahama Nasser Toure, Menu Adabo Francis, Mafu Emmanuel, Mafu Kofia Hinkra, Mbomba Thomas, Mensa Betty Nanefua Crosby, Mensa Francisca Otain, Mensa Isaac Ej, Mensa Joseph Kwesi, Mensa Tina Gibson Ayele, Mensa Andrew Kofi Japa, Morrison Cynthia Mamle, Muntaka Muhammad Mubarak, Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba, Nanja Sanja, Napari Dominic, Nawani Mark Kurt, Newman Dakwan, Niti with Dominic Binga Majuna. In Kansambwedu Mavis. No Kwe Kofi Akon. No be Ernest Henry. No Tuko to Peter Kwesi. In Team Adelaide. In Team Augustine Collins. In Tosu Helen Ajua. Nyakote Albert Tete. Tete. Nyaku Kingsley. Nyaku Kwamina Minta. Obin Teti George Kwabena. Obin Boatin Alfred. Oklu Linda Hinewa Akwele. Odampton Isaac Asher. Ofoswe Jari Elizabeth. Okofu Data Williams. Ochirejekum Kofi. Opoku Davis Ansa. Opoku Eric. Opoku Isaac Yao. Opon Kroma Kojo. Osei John Frimpong. Osei Kennedy Nyako. Osei Asari Abna. Osei Wusu Joseph. Oti John Kwabna Blaise. Otute Christian Quality. Owusu Bio Benito. Owusu Ekuful Esla. Peito Desmond de Graft. Pelpo Abdul Rashid Hassan. Prempe Frida Kosia. Prempe Matthew Opoku. Quarter Henry. Kwesi James Jechi. Radamu. Rickett Hagan George Kweku. Safo Sarah Ajua. Sandari Sebastian Meneso. Sani Suleiman Adamu. Sani John Kobna Abamaboa. Soya Queensta Mami Pokwa. Sefe Richard Kwame. Setre Benjamin Yabua. Sosu Francis Xavier Kojo. Sowa Dela Ajua. Sowa Rita Nao Dole. Superu Adams Mohammed. Suleiman Adama. Suleiman Al Hassan Tampuli. Suleimana Yusuf. Suma Anthony Kwikara. Tahidu Abdul Razak. Teria Augustine. Tel Abi Ebenezer Oklite. Tete Joycelyn. Tete Sylvester. Tete Agotri Gisela. Tete Joseph Akwete. Tofi Dorcas. Tobu Peter Lanshini. Tuferu Mohammed Hadi. Chuti. Chumberi Paula Preku. Yusuf Mustafa. Vanderpoy Alfred Oko. Vanderpoy Edwin Nilante. Vondi David. Wakal Daniel Insala. Breku Brobe Bright. Woyo Mekobna Mensa. Zidin Bid and Watazumo.
Honourable members, it is time to recite the national pledge. Honourable members, the national pledge. I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland. I pledge myself to the service of Ghana with all my strength and with all my heart. I promise to hold in high esteem our heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers. And I pledge myself in all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana. So help me God. Thank you very much. Honourable members, item 6, correction of votes and proceedings. We'll start from page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10. Yes, Honourable Member for Norton.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, please, the first paragraph at page 10. The former MP for Ketunov and former ambassador to Benin. Please, let's replace Doctor with HE. His Excellency Modestus Yao Zebu Ahiamble. That is the proper title and the record as presented by the Honourable Member on that day. So it should be HE and not Doctor. I'm sure Honourable Abeji can confirm.
Yes, Honourable Abeji.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the title is HE, Doctor. So on page 10, it should be corrected to read His Excellency, not Doctor.
Very well. The table office will take note and if further correction. Any more on page 10? Well, I'll proceed. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Honourable members, subject to the corrections already effected, the votes and proceedings of Friday, March 15, 2024, is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honourable members, I have one official report. The official report of Monday, December 18th, 2023. Monday, December 18th, 2023. Any corrections, please? Official report of Monday, December 18, 2023. Any corrections? In the absence of any corrections, the official report of Monday, December 18, 2023 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Before I proceed to the next item, let me acknowledge our visitors from the basic schools who have paid a visit to us in Parliament today. The first one is from Brakwa Kokoso Islamic A Basic School. They are led by Mr. Theophilus Beidou, who is a teacher there, and they are from the Esikuma Odobin Brakwa constituency. 8 of you, you're all welcome to Parliament. Now the next group is the Universal Preparatory and Junior High School. They are led by Mr. Dominic Ahuma. He's a teacher there, and they are from the Blekuma North constituency. There are 146 of them. You're all welcome to the Parliament of Ghana. Kindly resume your seat. Yes. Item 7, urgent question. Yes, Honorable
Speaker, may I seek your leave to vary order of business as I've related to my colleagues, and we proceed on to page 9 and take item 10J. Speaker, with your leave.
Yes, Minority Bench.
The Speaker, that has been agreed upon.
Very well. Item 10J by the Chairman of the Committee. Yes, Leader.
Speaker, if it pleases you, may I take the item on your behalf?
Yes, kindly do so.
34th report of the Appointments Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as ministers and regional ministers.
The report is duly presented for distribution to members. Yes.
Speaker, shall we proceed on to other paper addendum? Speaker, let me seek your leave to do it for the Leader of the House.
Yes, Minority Bench.
Mr. Speaker, it has been agreed upon.
Very well. Yes.
Proposed formula for the disbursement of the National Health Insurance Fund for the year 2024.
Honourable members, the paper is duly presented, is referred to the Committee of the Whole to consider and report. Yes.
Speaker, we have an agreement to take item 9, if it pleases you, Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, there are a few statements, but there's one involving a former member who is to be buried in the course of this week. So I'll invite the honorable member for Bulsa North, or is it South? Yes, to read the tribute of our former colleague. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a tribute for Honorable Agnes Asangalisa Chigabatia. Our beloved Agnes Ajubanyin was born in Chuchulga on Thursday, the 20th day of October 1955, to Prince Anaparie Asangalisa and Madame Margaret Akalkame, both of blessed, gleaning from the verbal eulogy by Professor Sylvester Abantereba, a renowned Ghanaian rocket scientist based in Australia. Agnes was a very active and curious little girl of about 2 and would follow her mother to school and come around inquisitively inspecting the work of the students of Madame Margaret in Primary 2 in Chuchulga Old Primary School. According to Prof, even though there are so many things in his head, he has never been able to erase that picture of little Agnes from his mind. She was born to be great. Prof could not help concluding. Agnes did her primary schooling in a number of different places, depending on where her mother was teaching. Similarly, she attended middle school in Chuchulga, Navrongo, and Sandema up to Form 3, when she sat and passed the Common Entrance Examination and left in September 1970 for secondary school in Jirapa at St. Francis of Assisi Girls Secondary School. But sometime in 1973, towards the tail end of secondary Form 3, young and beautiful Agnes became the victim of a child defilement crime committed by an irresponsible grown man. In the process of that calamitous encounter, she picked a seed. Consequently, she fell out of school and gave birth to a baby boy in April 1974. Determined to take her destiny into her own hands, she quickly weaned her baby and handed him over to her mother and went off to stay with an auntie in Sandema and worked as an office clerk at the then Bulsa District Council. Agnes's determination was to earn enough of her own money and further her education in catering. But she was simply such a beautiful, copper-colored young lady with straight and big long legs and an irresistible, infectious, diastematic smile that would sweep many a young man off their feet. And so the suitors came somersaulting in their numbers, but Agnes was not looking there at all. Then in mid-1976, a young and energetic man called Smachigabatia from Navrongo came to the Bulsa District Council to work as a young officer. One thing led to another, and the two young people got married, and as destiny had it, that would be Agnes's husband for life. Soon after the young couple had their first issue in July 1977, Smart had to leave for further studies in Legon, and the young mother and her twin babies had to endure excruciating economic difficulties in Navrongo. Unable to bear it any longer, Agnes handed the kids over to her sister-in-law in Tamale and fled to Accra in 1980 to do whatever job she could lay, including working for several years as a nurse in a private hospital in Accra. Perseveringly determined to continue her education, Agnes entered the School of Domestic Science and Catering as a young student and obtained her City and Guilds Ordinary Level Certificate in 1983, and then went on to do the City and Guilds Advanced Level in Food and Nutrition at the Accra Polytechnic from 1985 to 86. Even after serving as parliamentarian, Honorable Agnes Asangalisa Chigabatia continued to pursue her quest for knowledge. She attended Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, and obtained a senior level certificate in Women in Development from 2009 to 2010. On January 7, 2005, Agnes entered the 4th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana for the Bulsa North constituency on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. Honorable Agnes Asangalisa Chigabatia was an active Member of Parliament from day one. She served 4 different committees, that is 2 standing committees and 2 select standing committees. 1, Gender and Children Committee member. 2, Government Assurance Committee member. Select committees, Local Government and Rural Development Committee member. Trade and Tourism Committee member. Apart from serving diligently on all these 4 committees, Honorable Agnes Chigabatia was a passionate contributor to debates on the floor of Parliament, particularly on issues of child protection and education, as well as on issues of women empowerment. Ms. Agnes Chigabatia articulated her viewpoints forcefully, without fear or favor. A case in point was on the 15th day of June 2006, when in concluding her submission, she stated emphatically that anyone who defies a child should be castrated. In addition to her busy engagements in the Parliament of Ghana, Agnes was an active member of the Commonwealth Parliament and of the China-Ghana Parliamentary Association from 2005 to 2008. The indefatigable Ms. Chigabatia also served her country as the Deputy Upper East Regional Minister from 2007 to 2008. Honorable Agnes Chigabatia was simply a pioneering achiever. From birth until her passing on that fateful 9th day of January 2024, Agnes has been the first to achieve many small and big feats. Agnes was the firstborn child of the very first trained lady teacher in Bulsaland. Agnes was the first daughter of the great Asangalisa family to enter secondary school. Agnes was the first person from Bulsaland to serve in Parliament on the ticket of MPP and the UP tradition. Agnes competed with wit and beat all 7 strong men to become the first female regional chairman of MPP and the UP tradition, etc., etc. She is survived by 2 sons and 2 daughters. My dear auntie, your passing was a devastating blow to me personally, and I'm sure to many others. You were truly a mother to many. May your loving soul rest in perfect peace.
Yes, honourable members, that is a tribute of a former member of Parliament. Yes, make contributions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to commiserate with my colleague, Honorable Agalga, for the tribute, beautiful tribute actually, that he's written about his aunt, who was also in this chamber once upon a time. Mr. Speaker, only this month we have been celebrating women. And we're celebrating women because we think that it's important for them to be at the decision-making table. As a young lady, I recall that I used to come here to see Honorable Hawa Ogede Yakubu. And these were women who are trailblazers for us who are now in the political space. In my language, we say that to wit, we learn from the old to improve the future. So I rise to commiserate with all of us that we have lost a woman who, even though on the other side of the house, is also a trailblazer for the women in her party. Mr. Speaker, this month we've talked a lot about the bereavement that has happened in this chamber to both sitting and former members of parliament. I want to use this moment to reiterate the call from Speaker that we take time to take care of ourselves and to practice walking, jogging, dancing, any form of exercise that you can think of to enhance your well-being. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Agnes Asangaliza Chigabatia has played her part, and it is my hope that many people who have the opportunity to read about her and to see the kind of things that she did in this house and in her constituency will be inspired to improve upon the work that she has done, so that our country will be will have the benefit of her work as a member of parliament. And for this, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Yes, Damalis.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by the current Member of Parliament for the Bulsa South North constituency on the demise of the former Member of Parliament for that constituency. Mr. Speaker, Honourable Chigabatia was a force to reckon with when she was a member of this Parliament between 2005 and 2009. I recall covering some of her very, very vocal positions as a media man. And with the way she worked, she served as a role model to many young ladies, especially northern part of this country. She was not to be intimidated by the fact that many in the house were rather male and sometimes more boisterous.
Honourable Member, hold on. Honourable Member for Efijase Sokore and Honourable Member for yes. Who's the other Honourable Member on his feet over there? Kindly take a seat, please. Let there be order in the house. Yes, Honourable Member, continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like I said, she was not one to be easily intimidated. She took on sometimes very unpopular positions. I remember at the time when there was a campaign to ban female genital mutilation. She was a very strong voice, despite the fact that some of the traditions of the people that she represented promoted this practice. And like I said, I remember as a journalist, a reporter, covering some of the very strong positions advocated at the time. Mr. Speaker, she also was a very good mobilizer of especially women. She is noted to have been a member of the Bulsa Association Ladies in Accra, where she later became their president, and even further went on to establish another wing in Bolgatanga. She also was very instrumental in organizing women to take part in agric activities. The Speaker, maybe the current Member of Parliament will not know, but I happen to be an in-law of the area. The mother of my wife hails from that area. In fact, the same hometown as Honourable Agnes Chigabatia. And so, Mr. Speaker, when I say that her works and her contribution to the growth of our politics served as inspiration for young ladies, especially those from that area, Mr. Speaker, is because I'm living with one who was inspired by her. I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this statement, and I also join many to express my heartfelt condolences to the family. And we wish
I hope your wife is not
will rest in
preparing to contest Honorable Agaga. Yes. Any more control? Yes, Honorable Member for Boko Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said already about Honorable Agnes and her vociferous advocacy of the welfare of children in the chamber of this House. Mr. Speaker, I was one of those who came to this House, Honorable Agnes, in 2005. And I recall fondly that she was a very nice woman, very playful, and very encouraging. Playful, very encouraging of some of us, the young people who were in the chamber, and always urging us not to give up in spite of the difficulties and the challenges of being in this House and starting a political career. But even more, when she left this House, she became the Deputy Minister for Upper East, and at that time she was very helpful to members of Parliament, always intervening to resolve the issues between parliamentarians and their district chief executives on the issues of the utilization of common funds and etc. And so this is a lady that, from all indications, was a trailblazer where she came from. She served as an inspiration to many young ladies. Unfortunately, we have lost her, and I want to join colleagues to express my own sincere condolences to the bereaved family and to assure them that they have our support and regard in this very difficult time. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the tribute of Honorable Agnes Chigabatia. She was popularly referred to as Chigao Chiga. And Mr. Speaker, we joined that batch in Parliament in 2005, and she referred to many of us, the young ones, as her sons. Mr. Speaker, remarkable feat for a woman to be the regional chairman of a political party in the Upper East region is a significant achievement. It means that she has contributed to the building of our democracy, serving in that capacity is viable political parties that make strong democracies. And Mr. Speaker, on her passing, we only can express sympathies and condolences to her. I want to recognize her for one significant thing, apart from her effort at welfare of children and women. She was very good at conflict resolution, or her effort at conflict resolution was remarkable for our purposes. Mr. Speaker, as we mourn her, we also take note of the fact that she is one of the first from the Upper East region to have won a seat on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party in the Upper East region, in an area largely underdeveloped. Poverty is still a problem. And Mr. Speaker, I'm sure she is among many who have contributed to the growth of that tradition in that particular part of our country. May her person be accepted by the children and the family. May I express deep condolences and sympathy to them. May her bosom rest in perfect peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Do the leaders wish to comment? Very well. As it is our practice, shall we observe a minute silence in memory of our deceased colleague? may the soul of our departed Honorable Chigabatia and the souls of other faithfully departed rest in peace. Amen. Yes, Honorable Member for Subing at the matter.
Most grateful, Mr. Speaker. I rise on order 93-1. Order 93.
Sorry, order
931.
Yes, let me hear you.
In connection with the decision made by the Right Honorable Second Deputy Speaker last Friday, in connection with sitting members, sitting and current, still and former members of Parliament welfare, especially in connection with medical bills. The matter was widely discussed in the chamber, especially from the other side. I remember the former minority chief, Honorable Muntaka Mohammed, and then the majority leader on Friday, in connection with the urgency of such a committee. The Right Honorable Second Deputy Speaker referred the matter to the House Committee, which is of great concern to me. Well, in the 7th Parliament, I was a member of the House Committee. We only met twice. That committee comprised just of the leadership and a couple of members, and we only met twice in that term. So my humble view is that because the matter is a very sensitive one, and also concerns all members, both sitting and former, that you set up an ad hoc 5 or 7 member committee to look into this matter ideally and report expeditiously to the House immediately after the Easter recess for consideration. I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker, for your attention. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I was not in the House on Friday, so I'm looking for the record in the votes and proceedings on Friday. All I see is a statement on the former Member of Parliament, Ms. Dr. Modestus Ahiable, and after that we observed a minute silence. Was that what generated the discussion?
Yes, that statement that the majority in wrapping up the statement made mention of the urgent need for that for committee to be set up to MPs as well to look into those matters and report to the House for consideration. Thank you.
Well, can the Second Deputy Speaker assist the House in this context?
Mr. Speaker, if I got him right, I think for the past week we paid about 6 tributes to our former past colleagues. So as part of the contribution, it came to a point that we need to take a critical look at our welfare and our health issues. So I mattered to the House Committee to look into the welfare and health matters of members and former members. I think that's where he is coming from, that the House Committee appears not to be working. So he is suggesting that probably if we can set up an ad hoc committee to look into that matter, because for him it is a very, very important matter, and we shouldn't just leave it for the House Committee, which apparently is not working. So if I got him, that is where he is coming from.
Yes, Honourable Member for Tamale North.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity, and I just wish to caution that sometimes some of these discussions, as important as they may be, when they are not carefully handled, they send a very bad impression of us members of Parliament. And like I said, there are important conversations to be had, but the way they are had and the way we approach it can, result in negative feedback. which will be also appropriate. So, Mr. Speaker, my view is that if the House committee is not working the way we want it to work, there must be a way to make it work the way we want it to work. Because you see, members of the public are watching us, and sometimes some of them say that whatever we are suffering is a symptom of our performance as far as what we are supposed to do for the country is concerned. And so, when we have a situation where even a committee of parliament is unable to work, and our solution to it is to form an ad hoc committee to look at our welfare, then it highlights indeed, it is our non-performance that is resulting in the suffering that not only we are going through, but members of the public are also going through. So, Mr. Speaker, as much as this conversation is an important one to be had, we must be careful how we go about it in order not to, send the wrong signals to the general public. I thank you.
Honourable Member, it may also suggest that when it comes to matters concerning we ourselves, we don't spend public time. Is that not the other interpretation? When it comes to matters relating to we ourselves, members of parliament, we don't use public time to do it. That is another interpretation. But the truth of the matter is that indeed and in fact...
Thank you very much. You have put it better for me. Thank you.
When it comes to matters relating to members of parliament, we hardly pay attention. All the time we are doing things that are going out, but not members of parliament. In any case, the new standing orders talks about the House Committee in Order 222 at page 121. The House Committee comprises the Majority Chief Whip as chairperson, Minority Chief Whip as vice chairperson, and not more than 11 members. The committee shall consider any matter connected with the provision of services to members of parliament that includes the office, residence, catering, medical care, working and other facilities, and make recommendations to the House for approval and implementation. Now, that committee, to the best of my knowledge, is yet to be formed under this new standing order. The honourable member's suggestion is that this matter may be too urgent, that it cannot abide the formation and approval of the new standing orders. Is that, if that is the case, the referral by the Honourable Second Deputy Speaker to that committee means that the matter will abide the formation of the new committee under these orders, right? So it is still a matter worth considering whether, while we are waiting for the new committees to be formed, we want another committee, ad hoc or whatever, to look at the matter. Yes, I want to hear from members in that respect. The proposal is that the matter should be referred to an ad hoc committee. Yes.
Speaker, from the outset, let me say that this is a very important matter. And it's most unfortunate that we have to come to this extent where an existing committee has not been formed, and as a result of that, we have to defer to an ad hoc committee of a sort. But don't forget that ad hoc committee is permissible by our laws, by our regulations. Ad hoc committee is permissible. So if it is the case that as we speak, we have a situation, and this one is not anybody's fault. Honorable Sohini, I heard you gesticulating. It is not our fault. We on this side are ready, but of course, it's a house of both sides. We needed to relate to your colleagues, and there is good discussion going on for us to firm up. We are ready on this side. Unfortunately, but as I said, it's a house. So I needed to relate to our colleagues, and they also needed to do some very good consultation backyard. So it is not as easy as you see it. However, Speaker, we related to the Speaker on such matters, and he had cautioned that it's something that we should not necessarily subject to discussion on the House floor, and that the leadership should relate and deal with that. That is not to say that it's something we should just brush away. So I would agree with my colleague to the extent that we have not been able to firm up the new committees as a result of the newly adopted standing orders. We may have to go on that tangent of getting an ad hoc committee to deal with these matters. In the meantime, unless we are also agreeing, and I see my colleague staring, my colleague Chief Whip agrees, if we can take the motion and make the amendments and pass the committees, then the House committee can start. And Speaker, I am privileged to be the chair together with my colleague Chief Whip. So if it is the case that we have an agreement and we can pass a motion on this newly constituted committee before we rise on Wednesday, then there will be no point in proceeding to put in place an ad hoc committee to deal specific to this matter. So maybe we want to hear from the Chief Whip what he will also say in this regard, and then we can proceed accordingly.
Yes, Deputy, Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, I don't see anything wrong with the call for a committee to expedite work on this. I think the point Honorable Sweeney is making is that whether it's a House committee or an ad hoc committee, the way we communicate around it must be such a way that people don't see it as self-serving. Mr. Speaker, I believe that running a clinic in Parliament is self-serving. Though you might have built 5, 6, 7 health centers in your constituency, but the day you fall sick, you might not be falling sick in your constituency, you might be falling sick in your office. So having a provision here that takes care of members of Parliament and visitors has never been self-serving, because your constituent might come here and get sick. You won't send him back to your constituency to get treatment. But I think the point made is genuine. The way we talk about this cannot be a discussion on the floor of Parliament. It has to be done by a committee and then a decision made. I don't believe that it's the lack of a new committee that is the reason we haven't sat. The government whip knows that our plate have been full with business day in, day out these days. And it is historically clear that House committees are naturally not the most effective committees in this House. It didn't start today, but it can get better. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree with him. Eventually, the new committees will be constituted. Indeed, we have constituted some committees already, and they are working. So we'll work together to make sure that the committees start work. So, Mr. Speaker, the call by our colleague is okay. I know what you may do is to direct that it is taken away from the House committee to another committee. We are 2 days away from going on recess. What exactly will the most effective ad hoc committee do 3 days before we go on recess? That will be formed. That will probably not do anything, because I don't see how you call me from my constituency to come and sit on ad hoc committee when I have work to do in my constituency. Surely the chief whip on the government side is going to be busy doing other things. So, Mr. Speaker, it's up to you. I will not push against this. But when you set up the committee, be assured that it may not be a committee that will come up with a report in 2 days, which is Wednesday when we rise. But I don't have any hard feelings about putting the committee together. If we need to do it, Mr. Speaker, we need to do it, because the principles are quite clear. Day in, day out, we talk about senior colleagues who have passed on. Mr. Speaker, all of us. I have my own story, how my former MP had to be rescued from Whole Government Hospital to the Kolebu at a point in time out of ill health. How he managed the hospital bills as something that is not a story that you want to tell a will-be member of Parliament. So that one, on principle, we all agree that we must do something. It's not self-serving. You must be able to be alive to serve anyway. So I think it's a good call. But how we approach it, as Honorable Sweeney said, let's be careful the approach we use so that we don't look like we are just self-serving. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
May I suggest that the leadership takes this matter up at the leadership meeting so that rather than throwing ideas in and out here in the chamber, the leadership meeting discusses and takes a firm position and advises the House. So I direct that the leadership of the House takes up this matter and discusses it and advise the House. Yes.
Speaker, as agreed earlier, may we suspend sitting and break into committee of the whole to consider formulas for the statutory payments, as was agreed earlier.
Yes.
We agreed last week to defer taking those reports till today. So we can start with those that are ready today and see how far it takes us.
Very well, honorable members. The sitting is suspended. We shall vote for committee of the whole. After that, we resume sitting.
Honorable members, let me welcome you. Yes, honorable members, leadership. Let me come to you for indication.
Mr. Speaker, I think we'll be taking or getting a briefing from the minister responsible for communication. Last time we agreed,
Yes.
Leadership, that he should brief the House on the internet situation.
Indeed, Honourable Speaker, that is indeed correct. We have data crisis, and the minister is appropriately invited to come and give us a full brief and to tell us what could have been done to avoid what has happened. So we are all ears.
But, Minister, hold on, I'm coming. Already, the minister has some questions to answer. Is he going to take the questions as well? I want to know first, so that he has, I think, 2 questions.
Speaker, the arrangement is just to give us the briefing, but not to respond to the questions.
Yes, sir.
Is that the pressure of the House?
Indeed.
Oh, honorable. Minister. Yes, let me respectfully. Minister, don't. Yes, Minister, take this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the early hours of 14th March 2024, last Thursday.
Honourable members, please, let's give her the needed attention, please.
In the early hours of 14th March, the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization and the National Communications Authority were notified of internet disruptions on both the MTN and the Telecel network. They both indicated that they were experiencing a major loss of internet services. Investigations revealed that there had been multiple undersea cable disruptions that had affected mobile data and fixed data services nationwide on these two networks. The AT network, however, had not experienced any such disruption. The current internet outage is deeply concerning and has impacted several countries across West Africa, including Ghana. Ghana has 6 subsea cables, with the first submarine fiber cable landed in Ghana by the SAT3 consortium, of which the government of Ghana, through Ghana Telecom, was a member. Until October 2023, we had 5 submarine cable providers: SAT3, Main 1, WAX, Glow, and ACE, and another cable from the Facebook Meta-led To Africa consortium, which landed in November 2023. This To Africa cable will be live in the 4th quarter of this year. It is currently not live. For clarity, this incident may have been caused by a landslide undersea that has wiped out most of the fiber cables between Ghana and Europe that have a landing station in Abidjan, connecting to Ghana. A separate event in the Red Sea has also cut cables going around the other direction from Africa to Europe. By chance, there are 2 cables that have been unaffected: the Google Equiano cable and the Angola to Brazil cables. Both, however, cannot support the lost capacity with the same levels of quality and the same latency within a reasonable time. It's truly unprecedented for all of these cables to be cut around the same time, and no one could have anticipated that. In 2020, during the COVID pandemic, the National Communications Authority engaged the mobile network operators and internet service providers to assess their current capacities and redundancies to submarine cable providers and ensure that they had the necessary environment to provide reliable services to all subscribers. The NCA then realized that the MNOs and broadband wireless access providers were connected to only 1 or 2 submarine cable providers. And in order to mitigate any risk from a national emergency point of view, the NCA directed the MNOs and Surfline in a letter dated 30th April 2020, a copy of which is attached, to establish and maintain physical cable connections to at least 3 submarine cable providers operating in Ghana. They also indicated in the directive that all redundant cable connections should be capable of being lighted within 24 hours in the event of outage on their primary links. All the network operators complied, and MTN is connected to the ACE cable, WAX, and Main 1. Telecel is connected now to SAT3,
WAX, and the ACE cable. AT is connected to main 1 and ACE. However, in their case, they are connected to the WAX cable through the West African Ocean Company, WAYOC, in Nigeria. So in addition to the 2 cables that they have in country, they are connected to a third one, which is providing services through Nigeria. And so not only did AT comply, they went further to establish and maintain a physical connection to an external submarine cable provider that did not land in Ghana. They acquired this additional service from WAYOC through the WAX cable, as I have indicated. And this provides connectivity from Nigeria also through the Equiano cable. As a result of this, at the height of the outage, AT had a better service while the other MNOs had degraded services. Also, at the time of the outage, MTN had provisioned a separate 70 gigabits per second capacity over the WAX cable to Nigeria. And this facility was used to maintain a minimum local cash exchange with the internet community as well in Nigeria, and was repurposed for partial MTN internet data services when all 4 subsea cable providers in Ghana had complete outage on Thursday. Preliminary findings and further investigations of this fault have revealed that the fault occurred due to external incidents that resulted in cuts on the submarine cable systems in the Atlantic Ocean, offshore Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal along the coast of West Africa, and Portugal. The subsea cable landing service providers have remotely identified the approximate locations of the damage, and they've made preparations to dispatch repair vessels to the locations for physical assessment and restoration. As I've indicated, this didn't affect AT, as they had executed connectivity with a cable provider that does not land in Ghana. This disruption has had a major impact on almost all industries, affecting economic, commercial, academic, and social activities, among others. The likely causes of the outage. Most submarine cable faults occur as a result of human activities such as fishing or anchoring in shallow waters near shore, natural hazards such as earthquakes and landslides under sea, and then equipment failure. Given the distance from land and the cable depth, which yesterday, 17th March, which also happens to be my mother's birthday, the NCEA has updated on the incremental additional capacity and the monitoring of the situation, which confirms that the consumer experience is improving. It is our expectation that this will continue while efforts are underway for full restoration of services. In treating this crisis as well, the NCA has been issuing regular communications to the general public and will continue to do so until full restoration of service is achieved. Notably, no other country which was fully impacted like Ghana has restored full capacity as we speak. Some of the restoration measures that have been undertaken are that the submarine cable providers have maintenance agreements, or some of the restoration measures that will be undertaken are that the submarine cable providers have maintenance agreements with international submarine cable repair companies like the Atlantic Cable Maintenance and Repair Agreement to provide repair services for the submarine cables. The initial remote investigations by all affected cable providers have given them the approximate locations where the cables have been damaged. To commence the repairs, these cable providers need permits from the authorities in Cote d'Ivoire and or Senegal. Their vessels will then be assigned to retrieve the necessary spares required for the repair work before sailing to the fault location to conduct the physical repair work. The affected section of the submarine cable will have to be pulled up from the seabed onto the ship, where the repair vessel where it will be spliced by skilled technicians to complete the repair. It will then be tested for any defects, and which will be fixed and then lowered back to the seabed. This process, I'm told, might take between 1 and 2 weeks for the actual repairs, while it will take about 2 to 3 weeks of transit time for the vessel to pick up the spares and then travel from Europe to West Africa once the vessel is mobilized. And that is why the NCA indicated that it will take a minimum period of about 5 weeks for full services to be restored. With regard to the use of satellites as an alternative, it is important to note that the bandwidth of a satellite backup for network operators cannot replace the capacity that has been lost due to the outage. Satellite backup for consumers is more feasible. However, the cost is relatively much higher than the terrestrial solutions. Immediate initiatives that the government will undertake is that we will license satellite gateway earth stations, landing rights, and satellite earth station networks. OneWeb has already been licensed. Starlink is in the process of being licensed, and other operators are being encouraged to land in Ghana. We must also invest in operationalizing RASCOM, the Regional African Satellite Company, instead of each country going it alone. All network operators must arrange and implement alternative routes to restore full services, as they are currently doing. Organizations and enterprises are also encouraged to host their content, databases, applications, and services in at least 2 Tier 3 or 4 data centers in country, in different locations. And public organizations must utilize the National Data Center as either their primary or backup disaster recovery data host. The NCA did not have a framework for licensing satellites, but the authority has in the last year concluded benchmarking and learning from other jurisdictions where this has been implemented. Currently, they've developed a satellite licensing framework in Ghana, which has been approved by its board and are awaiting the final policy approval. This framework will provide the policies and rules relating to the application for frequency authorizations for satellite services in Ghana. It outlines the various categories of satellite services, the licensing requirements, and its associated fees. A draft framework was subjected to industry consultation and approved by industry. The objective of the framework is to provide increased regulatory oversight for the services, more connectivity solutions or options for consumers, and other measures. However, I must remind us all that the fee charged by the low Earth orbit satellite operators like Starlink for hardware and services show that they will cater for high-end value subscribers because they are expensive. We're currently also having discussions about affordable backhaul satellite solutions with all satellite service providers under the auspices of the ITU. This conversation has been ongoing for a while, but I believe what has happened in the recent past will activate and energize these discussions for a solution to be reached soon. The way forward, all mobile network operators and internet service providers will be required to establish connectivity with other submarine cable providers that are not present in Ghana, like AT did. All internet service providers should be obliged to connect additional undersea cables, satellite options, and terrestrial links through neighboring countries. Clearly, we'll all sink or swim together. Mixed infrastructure with adequate capacity is required to provide redundancy to Ghana's internet connectivity. The importance of the Ghana Internet Exchange in localization of internet caches. The localization of internet caches is integral to enhancing the speed, efficiency, and reliability of content delivery on the internet. It improves user experience, offers cost savings, and helps maintain a robust and scalable infrastructure for delivering digital content. Ghana requires one more internet exchange on the coast and another inland to provide redundancy and improve internet delivery for a better experience in the country. My information is that we currently have 2 which are active, 1 additional which is not active, but we need at least 2 additional active ones to improve the internet experience. And so we will work quickly to get those up and running. Some key points highlighting the importance of localizing internet caches include improved load times. By having internet caches located closer to end users geographically, the latency in accessing content is significantly reduced. Just to give an example, if the internet is located off-site and you want to utilize, download that capacity locally, your request will have to go to Europe before it comes back to you, and that increases the cost of accessing that content. And so by locating caches in country or within the continent, it makes it easier to access the content quicker and leads to a better browsing experience and higher user satisfaction. It also reduces network congestion in helping to offload traffic from the main service, reducing the strain on the network infrastructure to prevent network congestion and bottlenecks, ensuring smoother data delivery. And it improves on cost savings as well. The Ghana Internet Exchange is a facility which keeps Ghanaian internet traffic in Ghana. The GIX allows local internet service providers and network operators to easily exchange traffic within Ghana while improving connectivity and services for their customers. Despite the benefits of the GIX, most internet traffic originating from Ghana are exchanged internationally using expensive transit circuits, as I've indicated. We should therefore encourage the creation of local content and international content to be hosted locally, such as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Netflix. Google has servers in Ghana and Nigeria, and so cached content like YouTube was not affected by the disruption, as users will testify. We will issue a directive for all entities that provide critical content such as and services such as banking products, the Ghana.gov platform, ECG, and similar platforms, educational content, etc., to be hosted locally in Ghana. This policy should create an enabling environment to make the service affordable and reliable for hosting content locally. Government will also support the creation of regional exchanges in Ghana to augment the GIX. We're already working with the Smart Africa network to develop similar facilities in country and for the benefits of its 32 member states. We should also invest in talent and developers to develop more local content that will be of more practical interest to our people. The NCA will issue directives to all authorized and licensed entities to connect to the exchange and will facilitate the licensing process for authorizing more entities to build exchanges in the country. The NCA may also consider making it a requirement to register and interconnect to the local exchange as part of the application process for a license. Government through the NCA, the National Information Technology Agency, and the Ghana Domain Name Registry, which we have set up, should play a key role in the internet exchange management, in that the facility is a public infrastructure Citizens and government data are involved. Cybersecurity and data protection issues rise to the fore, and it is critical to ensure local traffic is exchanged locally because of all the benefits that I've enumerated earlier. Within the continent itself, we can facilitate discussions to push for inter-country exchanges that will ensure mutual benefit to all. Nothing focuses the mind better than adversity. And I think, despite the fact that these conversations have been ongoing for a while, the added impetus to move quickly to implement them has been provided for us all. And so the African Union, ECOWAS, Smart Africa Initiative, and other regional blocs in Eastern, Southern, and Northern Africa would all come together to work towards improving inter-country exchanges for the benefit of the peoples of the continent. Currently, Microsoft has a data center in Nigeria, which has brought its global network closer to Ghana. An inter-country exchange between Ghana and Nigeria will bring a lot of benefit to local users subscribing to MS Azure Cloud Services and Microsoft 365. Approval has been granted and work is about to commence on the largest data center in Africa to be hosted at our own trade fair center, the African, I forget the name, I'll get it in a minute. It will come to me in a minute. These inter-country exchanges will encourage international content delivery networks to bring their service to the continent, which will help deliver faster and seamless connectivity to us all. In conclusion, we have worked to ensure the full operationalization of the National Data Center and to make it possible for our internet gateway to have redundancy and to function fully. All the public agencies connected are operational. Those who have their data hosted in the National Data Center are operational. We're encouraging others to follow their lead. In addition, under my leadership, we have completed the connectivity to 951 public agencies and 261 districts, which have been connected to the same internet gateway with redundancy provided through satellite links, and these are all currently operational, providing connectivity to critical infrastructure such as hospitals, post offices, police stations, and courts, and several gift mix utilizing agencies as well. As a nation, we need to be proud of the efforts we have made in the last few years to build the national critical infrastructure, reduce the digital divide, and provide universal access to connectivity. The telecom sector, which has been underinvested for several years, is seeing new investment with the Telecel acquisition of Vodafone and the recently announced joint venture between AT and Hanam Investment Partners. We've worked with the operators and cable companies to identify alternate routes and implement these routes as quickly as possible. These routes are being allocated as we speak, and every day we will see better and better capacity onboarded for all operators until the main cable breaks are repaired and service fully restored. In addition, we've also shepherded the multi-year process of getting the Facebook Meta to Africa 45,000-kilometer cable to Ghana. And while the fiber recently landed in November last year, it will be operational by the end of this year to increase the country's redundancy and capacity. As the newest cable, its capacity is 180 terabits per second, which is much, much more than all the existing cables that we have. And we must congratulate them and government for this initiative, the entire consortium and government for this initiative. We will endeavor to seek and implement forward-looking measures that will safeguard the use of and our adoption of digital solutions. But I must plead with members and through you to the general populace that during this hard time of limited access to the internet, we hope we can count on the patience and resilience of our people as we work assiduously to weather this truly unprecedented storm caused by force majeure. This too shall pass, and it is indeed possible. Thank you.
Very well. Honourable members, the Minister has just briefed the House as we all requested. So I think it's elaborate enough. If any member will want to have any comment, the time is now. Yes, Honourable Member for Tamale South.
Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement made by the Minister responsible for communications, highlighting undersea cable cuts, which has affected a number of African countries facing internet outage, of which Ghana is part. And that has brought some enormous pressure on our mobile net operators in Ghana who are running on minimal data capacity. According to the Ghana's Communications Authority, which is the regulator, our capacity is around 1.5 gigabytes of data capacity owing to multiple undersea cable cuts. Mr. Speaker, many other African countries, including Ivory Coast, Liberia, Benin, Burkina Faso, Togo, Cameroon, Gabon, Namibia, and Niger are all affected, including Nigeria. But Mr. Speaker, what the minister have done is to lay bare or naked the lack of redundancy in Ghana and the lack of internet capacity in Ghana and the lack of domestic internet capacity in Ghana and our continuous heavy reliance on external connectivity. That is what she's done. But Mr. Speaker, as a country, she needs every support. As I listened to her, she said we will. When you say we will, you and who? This is an industry largely led by the private sector. Even you, if you were to require money tomorrow to fix Ghana's internet capacity, will you find it from the government of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance? These are the bare issues we should look at. This is an industry which is largely private sector driven. We need to create an enabling environment for them to expand access. But as government, you are commending Meta. How might the government of Ghana contribute to the Meta 45 kilometers? No, zero. You have no contribution. Again, a dependency. But Mr. Speaker, whilst looking at this matter, in the last few days, since Thursday, as she rightly pointed, 14th, Thursday, Mr. Speaker, this is a major wake-up call for Ghana. The banking sector could almost ground to a halt. Academic, internet, online connectivity ground to a halt. Electricity ground to a halt. All of it attributable to an internet cut of a submarine cable. I still recall SAT3 Vodafone Glow main cable was launched at Osu here, main one was launched. We've had 2 more additions to it. But Mr. Speaker, I only agree with the recommendations that we must look within. But Mr. Speaker, again, Minister for Communication, your telecom landscape today is not as rosy as it was a decade ago. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's telecom sector is going through one of its worst moments in the country's history. Apart from MTN, the rest are all struggling to survive or struggling to die. Struggling to survive or struggling to die. You know that. Why will you get one of them walk away and say that government of Ghana should bring a $1 and take it out? What was the value of it? It means valueless. So, Mr. Speaker, she knows that Ghana's telecom sector is going through. And Mr. Speaker, you don't kill the hen that lays a golden egg. You know, they used to be major employers, major contributor to foreign exchange. Even today, I hope that I don't go further to reveal this. Even Ghana's forest reserve today is being anchored by one of them because of their friendliness in supporting the state in order that they can preserve. But Mr. Speaker, I couldn't more agree with the minister that we need to build capacities. We need to assure ourselves of redundancies. Mr. Speaker, she's in a unique position today for Ghana. Very soon, you have to lead this country to transit into a fifth generation network. How are we going to do it? We've already created a monster through policy and regulatory failure. A monster. When I say a monster, when you have a significant market shareholder, you know what that does to the industry. And you know what that it does, even to cost. Look at the cost of data. Competition in the sector, Mr. Speaker, competition in the telecom sector is virtually dead. We all have to do one mobile network operator. If you want data speed, if you want reliability, if you want dependability, you need it. And Mr. Speaker, let me conclude on the social aspect of it. We have all gotten too used to mobile telephony, and particularly the smartphones. Now, Mr. Speaker, even if it is doomsaw or lights off, you can rely on a lantern or your phone lights. Internet doomsaw or internet outage, we simply don't have an immediate response as a country. Mr. Speaker, I was suspicious that probably this could be the action of some international player that didn't want people to monitor what was happening in that part of the world. I was suspicious. I'm still doing my own investigation to satisfy my curiosity that is not it. So, Mr. Speaker, Minister, probably next time when you are coming, let the regulator accompany you. I was watching your back to see whether the NCA would have accompanied you so that when members make contributions, they will be guided to regulate all of us very well. But, Mr. Speaker, as you rightly said, 5G network, fifth generation network. Mr. Speaker, even this parliament must take interest in what happens to Ghana's fifth generation network. One is going to bring in revenue. Two, that is the only way you can reduce your significant market share. Three, that is the only way you can allow competition and reignite competition within the telecom sector. But, Mr. Speaker, internet outrage, Minister, this is not one of the things anybody will blame government. So you can have your peace and have your rest. We will not blame Nanado or Pawumi.
Honorable member. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, honorable members, let me draw your attention to Standing Orders 93.5. That a member may comment on the statement for a period not exceeding 5 minutes. So it's in our standing orders. So, come again. So this is New Testament. So please let's be guided. Yes, honorable member for Buakwa South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The minister posits that this is a force majeure, which in law means an unforeseeable circumstance that prevents someone from fulfilling a contract. Something that is not anticipated. Good. Now, my concern is that, or if I understand what she said, that as at now, we are not, so far as our internet infrastructure is concerned as a country, we are not weaned off international infrastructure. Yes, we are not independent. We are still dependent on them. So what is agitating my mind is that, are we making any plans, or do we have a plan that this could be something that can really hurt us? And therefore, let's find our local alternative. And does she know the capital outlay in trying to have one of our own? And if there are any timelines, This is a very, very, very important revelation she's brought, that we are still colonial in our orientation so far as internet access and facilities are concerned. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very, very much. Yes. Honourable Nati George.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement on the subsea cable cuts by the Minister for Communications. Mr. Speaker, I hold the view that we are where we are simply because the regulator that works under the Minister failed to do their job. The responsibility rests with the regulator. This is not about another country and force majeure. A regulator doing its job would have put in place the mechanisms and the redundancies that would have allowed us to be prepared for this instance. Mr. Speaker, the cut happened off the coast of Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire was the most impacted country on Thursday. As we speak today, Cote d'Ivoire's recovery is ahead of Ghana, simply because their regulator had put in place the right mechanisms. In the case of Haiti, and if you ask what Cote d'Ivoire is doing, they're using MOVE, the MOVE operator cable. They've immediately allowed all the other operators to piggyback on MOVE. When you speak about the success of Haiti, Haiti is simply able to carry traffic because they have redundancy using the Nigerian link. But is that not supposed to be a prerequisite for all the other operators in the country? Who is supposed to monitor that? It is the regulator. So if the regulator has slept on his job, and today we are found in this position, and then we want to raise our hands up in the air and say, oh, other countries that were affected have recovered and are recovering faster than Ghana because their regulators are proactive. Our regulator today is competing with the Ghana Chamber of Telecom. The Ghana Chamber of Telecom serves the interest of the telecom companies and is their advocate. The Ghanaian regulator is supposed to be the advocate for the rights. The NTA, the National Communications Authority, is supposed to be the advocate for the rights of Ghanaian citizens and customers. The 4 updates that have been put out by the NTA are simply mirroring the statements of the Chamber of Telecom. They don't tell us what remedial actions by way of regulatory policy are being put in place for the Ghanaian customer. They're only telling us what the problems are. That is the language of the regulator. He is going to tell you what the problems are. I am expecting the NCA to tell me what the solutions are, not what the problems are, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the minister must bear in mind, and the Honorable Haruna Idrisu spoke about the fact that the telecoms industry is in its worst shape in our history. It's true. Mr. Speaker, when Honorable Haruna Idrisu handed over as communication minister to Honorable Omani Boama before he handed over to her, Mr. Speaker, the state of our industry, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, the reason why I am saying this, Mr. Speaker, and I'll give you evidence if you want evidence. Mr. Speaker, we had a 5th cable in this country. There was a 5th cable, and that cable was not impacted by these cuts. That cable is the Glow 1 Marine.
Hold on, George. George. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, when Honorable Haruna Idrisu was on his feet, he encouraged us not to make this a partisan thing and a political thing. Mr. Speaker, I would plead with Honorable Sam George. I'm really enjoying your submission, and I'm being educated by you. When it gets to this area, you are on your own, and you do so well. No, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to telecom, digitalization, you're on top. But please, let's not get into when Haruna handed over and all that. We take away the beauty of it. Mr. Speaker, I beg you. So you make the point. I'm enjoying your submission.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I take a cue from the leader. The point I was just making is the Glow 1 cable is one of the cables that used to be in Ghana. In fact, it was launched in Osu by Honorable Haruna Idrisu. But Glow 1's cable, which has not been impacted by this internet shutdown, which was in Ghana, was shut down in Ghana just in January this year
because it's no longer profitable. Mr. Speaker, so when I say that the sector is challenged, it's not being partisan, it's factual. Because if Glow 1's cable was still actively operating and not shut down in January this year, we would have had capacity that we could easily have piggybacked on immediately. But because it was shut down in January this year, you don't have that capacity available to you. Then the point I also want to make is, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about capacity in the country, when the minister's speech, and I
give you extra 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just reading the minister's speech, what she read here, I just received the copy. There is silent on the Baobab to Africa cable. They have is here because they reported that they've landed in Ghana. But the question is, what is that Baobab cable doing for us? And to answer Honorable Atachia, I don't believe, and I'm on all fours with Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Ghana is not in a position today to say that we are going to do our own cable. Because the Google cable, the minister references, for example, it costs the Google cable, the CCOM cable, it costs $14 billion. Yes, that is about 5 IMF programs of Ghana. $14 billion. So you see, Mr. Speaker, the truth is the regulator has failed. We must hold the regulator responsible and say that the regulator must put in place policy that is going to remedy the situation.
Well. Honourable members, I'm just going by the standing orders. I've given him, he has spoken 8-9 minutes. I factored in all those last time. Yes. Nobody. So let me come to Honorable.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to just take off from where the last two colleagues left off. Right Honorable Speaker, the absence of the capacity, the requisite level of capacity we are talking about, and in particular redundancy, as has been initiated, is at the core of this argument. Mr. Speaker, we don't have control over the infrastructure that is at the center of this operation that we are talking about. And as has been said, Mr. Speaker, if you have your mouth in somebody else's kitchen, you cannot accept your independence and freedom. We don't have that control. And Mr. Speaker, what is more particular about this particular issue is that in a situation where you have initiated a national policy of Ghana beyond aid, and you are precariously still dependent on aid, because if you look at the telecom sector, Mr. Speaker, the bulk of the resources that are coming from are from external partners and development partners. The government of Ghana is not meeting its share of injecting the requisite level of resources in the development of infrastructure in that area. Even if you come to even the local, Mr. Speaker, only about a few weeks ago, we're talking in this house about even rural telephony to reach even some parts of our populace who don't have access to network. And as we speak now, by the minister's own reckoning, we are owing more than 350 million Ghana cedis to service providers and cannot pay, let alone to build that robust and resilient national fiber optic district to be able to position us to absorb shocks like this. So because of the absence of such buffers in our situation, we will find out that the impact of it will be more devastating on Ghanaians than it will be on other nationals who suffer. Mr. Speaker, just to compare, it's the same thing like we say Russia and Ukraine and COVID. All countries have suffered the impact. But why are we saying in Ghana here we suffer the impact more than that? Because our resilience and adoption of measures to deal with those matters are not up to scratch with what is happening. And so that is the issue that is being raised here. That we have to, as a nation, rise up to the challenge of ensuring that we inject the requisite level of resources into that sector to build that national capacity so that we can assert ourselves in cases of this thing. Mr. Speaker, as you speak now, nobody has actually truly deciphered the actual problem for this thing. It's just a hazy suggestion that some turbulence in the sea. Who tells us that tomorrow such a thing cannot recur? And if it recurs and we don't have the domestic capacity to be able to build and absorb it and move forward, how are we going to deal with the issue? Mr. Speaker, additionally, within the last few days, many MNOs have suffered significant, in fact, huge quantums of revenue losses, both in voice, data, Momo, and all the services that they provide. Who is going to take care of that? And on top of it, the minister says that they are leaving part of the problem to the MNOs to be able to reach out with external partners to develop. I think that should be a matter of concern to the regulator itself. The regulator should be at the forefront of such matters to ensure that they take up that responsibility and for government to contribute its part to ensuring that we have that robust, resilient national infrastructure that can.
Honorable member, thank you. Yes, Tamale Central.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Chairman, this house, Mr. Speaker, this house is a house of records and facts. When the minister was delivering the statement, I pulled a similar statement from the Nigeria Commission of Communication. And it seems to be word for word. And this house, I would, word for word, Mr. Speaker, and that's why I'm making reference to the statement that I have just pulled through. If it is true, then that is how low. Plagiarism is just, is terrible. And it appears that way. And that is why I want to make this submission to this house. And I expect you, Mr. Speaker, to let them check if it is true. This must not be tolerated. That is my first statement. The second one has, yes, it appears so.
Yes.
And I can make that statement available. If it is so, we demand another statement. No, because that for me is disrespectful to this house. The sanctity.
Honorable member, just hold on. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I will plead with my colleague that if it's something that he wants us to subject it to further check, then he should hold fire for now. No, since you are yet to verify, this is Hansard. Hansard is no. Colleagues.
Honorable members, please, he came on point of order. Let him finish and allow you to continue.
Mr. Speaker, normally if you are raising an issue of plagiarism, you would have to do your search, be sure before. But when a minister has made a formal statement and you say that it appears to be, so you want it to be checked later, I would plead with you. I am only pleading with you, honorable colleague, that you make your own submissions, but wait, check, and be double sure, so that we don't provoke debate. You make your substantive argument, submission on the statement, but on the issue of what you are saying, it looks like, it appears to be, you have not done your check. So please, you, Mr. Speaker, let the records take that one off. We can't have that in our records for now. You do your check. You would always have an opportunity to come back if you are double sure that is word for word. I plead with you. Honorable, I plead with you.
Mr. Speaker,
yes. Please, let's take the insinuation away. I mean, the minister has.
And it has got nothing to do with the minister. I know that statements are written by technical people at the ministry. I am only concerned about the sanctity and the dignity and respect of this house and the people of this country, and for which reason that I think that it appears. I use the word appeared for a reason, but let me make my substantive point. I take that direction.
So, honorable members, I table kindly expunge that aspect of it from the records.
More so when it affects all facets of our life. For me, it is extremely worrying. Another issue has to do with other infrastructures that we do not have. How much do we need to invest as a state in terms of building the needed infrastructure to overcome some of such challenges? More so when we are being told that the entire country is digitalizing. Now, in an era of digitalization, we experience a symptom of what would affect digitalization, and that indeed grounded the entire nation. I think that we need to look at it, with that perspective as citizens. And I have no doubt in mind, that these are issues that we should look apolitically without looking at the political, complication. I thank you too, Mr. Speaker. But I think that the first point ought to be looked at.
Mr. Speaker.
Let me now come to leadership.
Yeah. Let me thank the Minister for the statement. I was really struck by the Minister's statement when he said, and I quote, that we were struck by the admission by the Minister that the incident may have been caused by a landslide on the sea, which really meant that we are not certain exactly what happened. I was also very concerned when he said that we are currently working to engage a vessel, not only to go there to do three things: to basically check the capacity and try to make sure the repair, and said that the repair will take 5 weeks. From that statement and from what he has said, we are not even certain how long it will take for that repair to actually take place. But more importantly, I was also struck by the Minister's statement that they had instructed the internet service providers to make sure that they have 2 submarines, and they directed them to have 3. And he said all of them complied. It is very clear from this crisis that even those who complied with 3 submarine providers, they were found wanting. So the question really right now is that decision or that policy must change, and that they must have more redundancies and have more than 3 submarine providers. And I'm sure that the Minister is going to revise that policy in the face of this crisis, because it's obvious that they've complied with your directive to have 3 submarine providers. In the midst of this crisis, all of them are not working. Exactly what are we doing to make sure that in the future they are going to really have more than 3? And that has to be addressed. But more importantly, in all the statement, the reference was on the National Communication Authority, the regulator, which is really at the center of everything we are talking about. I think it's important that we draw the Minister's attention to make sure that the NCA is brought to this House to meet the Parliament as quickly as possible. First, if you recall, Mr. Speaker, the Right Honourable Speaker had directed the NCA to come and brief this House on the sale of Airtel and Tigo. That has not happened. Now, in the midst of this crisis, the NCA is at the core of it. I use the opportunity to, as a matter of urgency, ask the Minister to make sure we summon, in fact, the NCA before we even rise on Wednesday, as if it's that possible. I was also worried when the Minister made a very revealing statement that they are going to initiate continental discussion on the need for inter-country exchanges. If you are an African, you have to be worried. I mean, how in God's name is it the case that this is the time for African countries to understand that in this information age, we need to do it together? It takes this crisis for us to begin a continental level discussion on the need to make sure we have a continental approach to dealing with these things. I think this should have been done long time ago, and it worries me. But more importantly, the bottom line is that we don't have the capacity, we don't even have the capacity to lead in this damage that has been caused. Exactly what must we do to be in a place where we are not simply being advised by private players, but the regulator is in a position to lead this effort? Those are the questions that we must ask. The capacity issues must be done. I was told that Google, for example, tried to engage the government of Ghana, and out of frustration, they found themselves in Togo. Exactly how true is that? Indeed, when we had crisis, because Google wanted Togo and not in Ghana, Togo was doing better than us in this crisis. Exactly what happened that Google found its way in Togo and not in Ghana. Exactly, these are questions that we must all ask. Seriously, this crisis has really brought to fore serious questions that must be answered. And so, Minister, I think that your statement is full of questions, and obviously the need for us to really take a different approach from what we've done, so that this crisis will not befall us. We have not even answered the question, how much has this cost this country in terms of the financial institution and others? How much has this cost? I'm sure in the billions of dollars. This is a crisis. And so you must come back to this parliament and let us support you to make sure that this country can be in a place where we can find ourselves on our knees, helpless like we are right now. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leadership.
Mr. Speaker, first let me commend the Minister for being very proactive. Mr. Speaker, on Friday, she reached out to me and indicated her readiness to come to the House to brief us on this. In fact, she was ready on Friday, and I indicated to her that because of the time, she could perhaps do it on Monday. True to her words, she's here, and she's taking us through what her ministry has been doing. Mr. Speaker, my good friend Sam George made a very good point about the regulator. And I agree with him on all fours that the regulator must sit up and work with the ministry to give us results. We cannot allow the regulator to have a relaxed environment to do it as and when it pleases. Suffice to state that from what the minister has just told us, it's clear that the regulator is up and doing. But we need to hear more from the regulator beyond what we are being told. Mr. Speaker, where we have a sector minister supervising a body, we cannot hold the body to come to address us independently. NCA is not a constitutional body. It was established by an act of this parliament. So once there is a minister with supervisory powers, let us rely on the minister to take the necessary briefing from them. And then, Mr. Speaker, also, this House has a committee responsible for that sector. We perhaps can invite the minister to come with the regulator to brief us. And that one I support. So, Mr. Speaker, let us take note of that. But, Mr. Speaker, the minister was able to point out some success story, and that needs to be emphasized. Quote, Mr. Speaker, we have also ensured that National Data Center and Internet Gateway have redundancy and functioning, which is a fact. Mr. Speaker, the challenges we experienced last week are not getting worse. They are getting better. We haven't gotten to 100% situation yet, but it's better. That assures us that the ministry is working. The regulator is working. So, Mr. Speaker, that we have to acknowledge. But, Mr. Speaker, again, we know that rural telephony, previously our cell sites were just very low. We had up to 78 or so within a period. Mr. Speaker, it's very important to underscore that within the last 7 years, we've had over 3,000 cell sites being activated. 3,000. 3,000. Mr. Speaker, and according to the ministry, 2,016 more are being worked on to improve on rural telephony. So, Mr. Speaker, it tells us that we are making the effort. However, the investment in that sector cannot be done by government alone. The government does not even have the capacity. And Sam George was right by talking about some 14 billion or so dollars
which will require 3 times or 4 times of IMF support. So, Mr. Speaker, as a country, we should encourage the private sector to make more investment by creating the enabling environment. That would mean that all our acts must be together as a country. Mr. Speaker, so I would want to say that, Minister, what you've done is commendable, but we want more. The private sector is losing money. We as individuals, how to even reach our constituents became a problem. So we want your regulator to be more proactive. That is the call by this House. That is the call by this House. Mr. Speaker, without more, I would want to thank her. She's always demonstrated her competence, her ability to rise up to the challenge, and she's done so commendably this afternoon. We thank her for coming. Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yes, honourable members, we will thank the minister, and I'm doing so on your behalf. Yes, Minister, do you want to wrap up?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm reluctant to give an assurance which will make the Government Assurance Committee come chasing after me. But I must thank the House for the interest you've taken in this matter, which impacts the entire country, and assure you that government is doing its best in the midst of difficult challenges affecting not just Ghana, but several countries in the sub-region. And it is not something that any of us could have anticipated and worked to prevent. And so, judging by the fact that the situation is improving by the day, I'm sure you all bear witness to the fact that connectivity is much better today than it was yesterday, and it's much better than it was definitely on Thursday. We'll continue to work assiduously with the private sector to ensure that we deliver the optimum services to the country. And the regulator would also do its best to deliver on its mandates to the best of its abilities. And we're working to ensure that. I'm looking forward to meeting the committee with the regulator so that all questions that could not have been answered here would be answered. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister, on behalf of the House, we are grateful to you for coming to brief us. Yes, leadership, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, nothing now remains on our desk except to say that we are entirely in your hands, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, minority leadership. Hold on, let me. One of your backbenchers is still up on his feet. So, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank you and also thank the Minister for Communications for the prompt response to your directive. Mr. Speaker, I cannot, however, say the same about the issue I raised regarding the inconsistent power supply that we all have been enjoying. Mr. Speaker, the question, and I'm not surprised that the majority leader has stepped out. It was also an appeal made to you to request the Minister of Energy to address us in the same way that the Minister of Communications have addressed us on this very important matter. I was persuaded to file an urgent question. I did. Mr. Speaker, that urgent question has taken more than a week. It's been on the order paper for 3 days now, and it is not being picked. Mr. Speaker, how urgent is the issue of communications more important than the urgent question of, energy and the fact that we are sleeping in darkness? And Mr. Speaker, this is Ramadan, and in most parts of the country, the weather is very, very bad, and people sleep in darkness. And very soon we may have cerebrospinal meningitis on our hands from some other parts of this country. And that is why it's important that we get the Minister of Energy to also brief us on the power situation. And if possible, give us a timetable so that people can plan better, because they cook their meals and they need to store it to take for suhoor and iftar.
Well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. Yes. You are in my hands, so I'm not entertaining. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the House said we are in your hands. Mr. Speaker, we have barely 2 days to be adjourning. So I was just going to support what he said, but just to add that tomorrow leadership should try to be in conclave in our norms, so that we'll be able to plan for the remaining 2 days. That's what I was just going to say. Based on that, Mr. Speaker, I support the position of the leader.
Well. Honourable members, let me thank all of you. At least today we've done the statutory, we dealt with them. So tomorrow we hope we take the reports and give them the go-ahead to perform. So on that note, we'll bring proceedings to a close. So the House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House stands adjourned.